Now, I would like to introduce our members to another exciting initiative our Club Extension Committee and Club Welcome Committee undertook this year. As you know, we have several resources on club building scattered around Toastmasters International website and also on the world's best website, Toastmasters District 61 website. But we did not have a dedicated place for someone who wants to find everything related to club building. And also, we did not have some specific tools club sponsors and mentors could use when they are in this journey. In order to address this gap, we developed a new web page on club building. Let me share you where you can find it, and then I'll walk you through. Do you see my screen? Good. This is very easy for anyone to find the resources now. As you know, we already have the resources page on District 61 website. Under resources, we created a new page called Club Building. And this is where we saved the documents that you may need to use when you are building clubs. We have some resources from the TI website, and you have a direct link to these resources there. And also our club extension committee led by Fabian and Celine and his team, especially Annie Reel, they worked a lot on creating a lot of tools that you all could use when you are organizing a demonstration meeting or doing anything related to club sponsor role. And also we have in both languages, both French and English. You can go there and find the resources you want. And this goes to all resources related to club sponsorship and club mentorship. And our new club welcome committee chair Karin and also her team member Eva, they are currently working on a roadmap for new club mentors. And once this resource is available, this will be also included in this website, web page. And today's discussion, our recordings and our presentation decks will also be available on this web page for future use. I would like to thank Craig Senior, Distinguished Toastmaster Craig Senior, who helped us creating this web page. And most importantly, I would like to thank Fabian and Annie for putting the materials available for all of us to share. And this is how we share the joy of club building. Back to you, Karin.
Thank you, Rishanti. I do want to introduce Fabien Ancelin, as he has been a big part in this. It's a joint effort. So Fabien has been a Toastmaster since 2018. He joined because public speaking seemed scary, and he stayed to help others. Fabien has held many leadership positions in District 61, Area 13 Director, Division Director, and District Contest Chair. This year, he leads the club extension team, supported by an amazing team, which includes Annie Riel, Ronald Servant, Jocelyn Vezina, and Marie-Claire Kea. Fabien's line of thinking is that life is too short to be boring. Therefore, let's make this morning a good time. And I can agree with that and get behind that. Please help me welcome Fabien.
Thank you very much, Karin. And yes, I'll keep it short because I'm standing between you and the interesting part. So for anyone who is speaking in French, we're going to have separate breakout rooms. You will be sent there, and then we will all regroup afterwards. We have amazing trainer in French today, so I would like to take the time to recognize them. We have Ronald and Frank who came up, who developed their own material. So please give them a big round of applause because we would have nothing without them. And yes, I think last item is remember that whoever, like there's a big team that supports our district today, you can always reach out to us for help. With that, I think I'm going to keep it short and give it back to the trainer. Over to you, Karin. Then you can, well, I'll let you send the signal to send everyone away.
All right, with that then, I will carry on. I do want to thank our trainers as well for the English room. We have two great trainers here, Tony Renaud and Gina Cook. we'll begin with our session on sponsors, which is going to be run by Tony Renaud. Tony Renaud has been a member of the Toastmasters organization for over a decade. As a senior manager at IBM, he knows the importance of good communication and leadership skills in today's world. Toastmasters offered the opportunity to grow those skills, and so he started a Toastmasters club along with several of his coworkers. Having discovered the value of Toastmasters can bring, it wasn't long before Tony was helping build new clubs as a sponsor or as a mentor. In 2020-2021, he even served as the district's sponsor mentor committee chair. Today, he's going to discuss with us how to build a club as a club sponsor. Please help me welcome Tony.
All right, thank you very much, Karin. Welcome, everybody. I am excited and frankly honored to be able to follow Pat Johnson on the topic of sponsorship. She's literally written a book on it. And so I would definitely point you towards that. In fact, I'll share a link when we get to the corporate section of our book, of our presentation today, to Pat's book, because it is incredibly valuable information. What we're going to be talking about today is sponsors. Now, I'm going to say this, you don't have to memorize this. There is no test at the end of this. All this information will be made available to you. And in fact, as we just found out today, it's all very easily accessible from our district website, tmd61.com. So anything I'm going to be sharing with you today should be found there, and you won't need to necessarily remember the document number that I share when I talk about the manual for how to build a club. So just sit back, relax. Let's talk about what you can expect when you are building a club. First, we're going to talk about why. Why do we have sponsors? Why do you want to be a sponsor? We're going to talk about what the duties of a sponsor are, and then we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of how do you do that? How do you launch a club? I'm going to have a little section at the end for corporate clubs. Corporate clubs have some special considerations, and so I'll talk a little bit about that. That's when I'll share the link to Pat's book on the subject. And we will wrap it up with a question and answer period at the end. I'm expecting to speak for about 20 minutes, and we should have at least good 10 minutes for questions and answers. Okay, so why do we need sponsors? Well, first of all, the reason we need sponsors is because we want to share the benefits of Toastmasters with others. Now, yes, we can invite them into our existing clubs, but sometimes that just doesn't work for people. Sometimes it's too far to those clubs. And so the opportunity arises to start a club where they are. Of course, starting new clubs is literally in the district mission. It is what the district is here for to do, including supporting the existing clubs. But they are here to start new clubs, and they're here to support you as a sponsor in doing so. Finally, it offers opportunities to our members, new learning opportunities for you that you can then use to develop your skills. What skills? Well, this is why you might want to be a sponsor. You can learn leadership skills, project management skills, marketing expertise. And of course, it doesn't hurt, that it is one of the credits that you can use in order to achieve your Distinguished Toastmaster designation. I'll put as an aside, one of the things I found for me that it really helped is it really reinvigorated for me my passion for Toastmasters. Being in a new club with 20 enthusiastic people who are just dying to dig into this material really highlighted for me, again, what the value is that Toastmasters has in my life. So what are the duties? You've decided to be a sponsor. What are you responsible for? Well, on paper, here it is. Organize the club. That means get 20 people or more together in order to charter the club, but it has to be at least 20, and at least 17 of them have to be, or sorry, not at least, 17 of them have to be new members. You can only have 3 existing Toastmasters in that list. You want to get ready for the new meetings. When are they going to happen? Where are they going to happen? You help launch when that goes on. And finally, you're going to complete the paperwork and send in to Toastmasters. That's on paper. And then at this point, the mentors take over. But as you heard Pat talk about, that's not truly the most effective way to do this. In fact, there's not a hard line. There's very often a bleeding of one's responsibilities as a sponsor and the responsibilities of a mentor, and hopefully significant overlap. When we do that, that's when we are the most effective. So what do we have to do? Well, first thing I was going to suggest, you put together a new club kit. And here's some documentations and things you may want to look at. Luckily enough for you, it seems the district has already done that for you. You can just go to their new club building resource section on the district website. But ideally, you should be finding there how to build a Toastmasters club, item number 121 from the Toastmasters store. It's targeted, when you read it, at someone who isn't a Toastmaster, but all the information is totally accurate for you as a sponsor. It is all the steps you need to go through to launch a new club. I would look at the forms that you're going to have to help fill out, the application to organize and the charter forms. Read through them, understand the information that is required to submit those forms in advance before you get started. Finally, putting together promotional brochures, things that you can hand out, things that you can publish online. There are both soft versions of those, so online versions, and the district has actual physical brochures that they can share with you. So as always, talk to your club growth director about perhaps getting your hands on those. All right, so these are the steps. I'm going to spend time on each one of these steps. There's slides below, so don't have to memorize it all right now. But we're going to talk about how you identify a lead for starting a new club, putting the team together, planning, holding our demonstration meeting, publicizing that meeting, submitting the applications, the application to organize, the charter, collecting dues for the members, and finally concluding with recognition of the charter event. So let's dig into these. So identifying a lead. How do we find out that there's an opportunity? Well, in many cases, people approach us. Sometimes an individual or a group of individuals or even a corporation will approach Toastmasters, and that might come to the district director, the club growth director, maybe the division director, and they will say, oh, we need to put together a team, and they will tap you on the shoulder as a prospective sponsor. But sometimes people just approach individual Toastmasters themselves, and that even could be you. Maybe you have a friend who's like, hey, at my company, we're thinking of starting a Toastmasters club. I know you're a Toastmaster. Do you think you could help us out? Well, here you go. You now have an opportunity. You would reach out to the club growth director and let them know that this is happening. And now the district can support you in sponsoring this new club. But we don't have to wait for people to come to us. We ourselves, as Toastmasters, can recognize opportunities to start new clubs. So certainly area directors and division directors, as part of their responsibilities, are often looking for those opportunities. Other Toastmasters may discover them, and even you can identify opportunities. Maybe you're thinking, hey, I live in Riverside South. There's no community club right now in Riverside South. They'd have to go all the way over to Barrhaven or maybe north into Ottawa. There's an opportunity right now to start something with a wide swath of people who could really benefit from Toastmasters. Then again, you would contact your club growth director about this new opportunity to sponsor the growth of a new club here in your community. So leads come in through different means. But once you have a lead, once we've identified it, we're ready to launch, we got to put a team together. Club growth director will help you definitely with this. We can have up to 2 sponsors, up to 2 mentors. Obviously, the district director and the club growth director would be involved. We may have our division director from the division involved as well, plus any other Toastmasters who may have valuable information or valuable skills that we can use in order to launch this club. Once you have your team, now it's time to get together and organize the club. If there were individuals, interested parties who had come and said, we want to start a club, you would now sit down with them. And here, just like you sit down with a new prospective member for one of your existing clubs, you want to understand what are the goals, what are the visions for these individuals for the club they want to start. This is about, again, talking their language. This is true for a community, and this is true for a corporation. What are they hoping to get out of this club? How can Toastmasters deliver value that they need? Now you're going to sit around and you're going to start talking about what are the actual particulars of this club. When do you meet? How long is it going to be, the club meeting going to be? Is it going to be a 1-hour lunch meeting, or is it going to be an evening club that might take a few hours? How often are you going to meet? Once a week, bi-weekly, once a month? Just a note, in order to chart a new club, you do need to meet at least 12 times a year. So once a month would be about the limit you want to push that to. Where are you going to meet? In corporations, ideally, they would have places and facilities that they can provide for meeting that club. In communities, you and the group will need to find a place, perhaps a church, perhaps a community center, and those places may actually come with a fee, a cost. So you'll need to take that into account when you start thinking about, well, how much are we going to charge members for joining this club? You need to cover not only the Toastmasters dues, but all the costs and expenses of running a club. So you work out these details. And then with that interested party, you can now complete and submit the application to organize. Send that to Toastmasters. What they will return to you is a charter kit, and it will include projects, the first level of, well, any path, but since they're all the same, in paper form that you can then share, or I believe there's a online version as well that they can share with the prospective new members so they can begin to work the program even before they get access to pathways. Now, this is in a scenario where you had interested parties. If you are the person who identified an opportunity, say in your community, you may think about these particulars to set up the process, but I'm going to caution this, be prepared to change them. Once you start attracting prospective members, these are conversations you're going to want to have with them. Maybe someone knows a better place than you where there is lower fees to meet once a week. So be prepared to change this information as you build the club. All right, so once you've prepared the particulars, you have your plan, now it's time to start attracting prospective new members. And the way we do that is a demonstration. So we need to sit down and think about how we're going to do that. You need a time and place. Ideally, the time and place of your demonstration meeting will be the time and place where you hold your regular meetings. You want to make sure you plan to keep it within the time limits. You want to demonstrate our respect for the individual and our respect for time. You want to include 3 aspects. You want to be able to demonstrate a speech, an evaluation, and table topics. Yes, you could add more, but as we heard Pat say, having a huge team show up can be overwhelming. I think focusing on the essentials of a club meeting is what you want to do. You want to select a team to put together this demonstration meeting. And that means not just you and the mentors, but if there are interested parties who approach us, include them as well. Make them part of the planning, make them part of executing on this demonstration meeting. You want to bring in Toastmasters now for the various roles that you will have as part of your meeting. And here, I would suggest you invite high-level representatives. If you're in a corporation, that would mean perhaps executive champions, people who could champion the club within the corporation for you. If it's in a community, community leaders, perhaps you might include members of the local community association, that board to come in. People who would direct other people to potentially joining your club. And also make sure you're preparing a guest package. No one should come who doesn't leave without a package that outlines Toastmasters, its value proposition, the Pathways education program, and more importantly, things like how to actually become a member, what are the fee schedules, an application form, and I often suggest a demonstration or a sample application form because it can be a little confusing how to fill those out. So include a sample that shows exactly where they need to fill out the information. And finally, contact information, who to bring the application to, who to go to if they have questions. Now you've set it up, hopefully about 2 to 4 weeks in the future so that you now have time to build interest. And that means publicizing the meeting. In a community, there's lots of ways that you can publicize your meeting. One of the first things I'd suggest you do is engage the district PR manager. Remember, the district mission is to build new clubs. And so the PR manager is here to support you in doing that. Use district channels to communicate all about the new club starting up, the demo meeting that's about to happen. Invite owners and managers of local businesses, especially those who have a group of employees that would benefit from Toastmasters. And of course, there's posters and announcements that can be put up at libraries, shopping malls, community centers, There's a number of places in communities where people share information. Find them and put up your notices. There's also a suggestion here to target specialized groups. Are there other groups who currently meet in your community? Maybe there's an opportunity to present for them the opportunity to join a Toastmasters meeting and develop their communication and leadership skills. Now, in corporations, there are different sorts of channels of communication, and they would already be well established. You would want to work with the corporation to utilize their communication channels in order to publicize the meeting, if that is necessary. But I would also recommend you highly leverage the HR training department. They will have channels by which they normally communicate training opportunities for their members. Let's use them in order to get prospective members into our demo meeting. All right, the demonstration meeting. I'm going to take a few extra minutes here. So there's been an approach that we have taken in the district for the last few years, and this has been, I'll say, inspired by Rick Furbish, a DTM Toastmaster who had developed this process. And I'm saying inspired because I cannot guarantee this is exactly how Rick does it, but it is in the spirit of that. In a demonstration meeting, the way we've been doing it and the way that we've found it's been highly effective and received very warmly is we have just these roles: Toastmaster, speaker, an evaluation, topics master, and a timer. That's it. Toastmaster will come out. He will introduce the concept of Toastmasters, the value proposition. He will explain how we come together regularly for meetings and how those meetings help us develop our skills. He will talk a bit about the roles. He'll talk a bit about pathways and the fact that there is an education program, and that at the end of each project, we end with a speech, which will lead into us introducing a speaker who will come and deliver a speech to demonstrate for our prospective members. Now, here's where things will get interesting. After the speech, we bring out an evaluator. The evaluator will explain how we evaluate every speech that's delivered, both verbally and written. And we are looking to identify the strengths of the user, the things they did well as areas where they could make changes that might make them more effective. But then the evaluator, rather than delivering the evaluation, engages the prospective members, asks them, hey, what did you find effective? What really worked for you? And now we're engaging the members. They're not just passive observers of a demo, they are involved. And so we ask them, what did you think? What worked for you? The evaluator collects that information, turns that around and says, okay, if you could change something about it, if you would recommend a change that would make this more effective in your opinion, what would that be? You'll get a few less answers, but you will get some. After collecting those, then the evaluator can demonstrate how to turn those suggestions into an evaluation speech. So he does the introduction, he introduces a few of their good points, makes a recommendation for improvement, and concludes. This has the value of A, engaging the prospective members, and 2, showing them that they already have something to offer, that their opinions, even right now, are valuable within the organization. And it makes them feel like they have something to contribute and not just get from Toastmasters. After the evaluation, we go on to table topics. And here again, I personally wouldn't call it table topics. I would just refer to it as an exercise. And in fact, I wouldn't even necessarily have it after the speaker. We might have it before the speaker, in which case I might call it an icebreaker exercise. If it's after the speaker, I might call it a getting to know you exercise. And here we can prompt and prep the prospective members by maybe the sergeant-at-arms or the Toastmaster asking them to share with the person who is the topics master something about themselves that maybe people don't already know, something that people might not guess about them. Then, armed with this information, the topics master can come in and go, all right, we're going to play a little game here, a little bit of a guessing game. Someone in this room has 2 immediate family members that are over 7 feet tall. Anyone have any guesses who that might be? Take a few guesses. After 2 or 3, identify the individual, and then you can ask them, hey, could you stand up and share with us a story about what's that like? Ask them an open-ended question that get them to talk. Now, we still have a timer, but I'm not telling the individual that they only have 2 minutes. I am asking them to just answer a question. The timer is for me so that I can say, oh, they spoke for less than a minute. I'm going to ask a follow-up question and get them continued speaking. If they talk for a minute to 2, I'll thank them and move on. If they're approaching 2 minutes, I'll look for an opportunity to perhaps interrupt. and then move on to the next. And again, we are engaging them. They're not just passive observers of this demo. With that, we will close the demonstration meeting, but we're not done. After the demonstration meeting, we go into introducing the sponsors and mentors of the club, offering them an opportunity to ask some questions. If they're quiet, we can have our own Toastmasters who participated share their success stories. We certainly want them to sign a guest book. We want to make sure they don't leave unless we know who they were. And quite possibly, if there is enough interest in that room, you can now complete an application to organize if you haven't already done so. Now, you heard in Pat's case, sometimes you're lucky enough, you can immediately jump into the charter forms as well and submit that at the same time. But most often, you don't have enough. You have 12 to 15, and so you need to keep going. And this is where it really helps to bring in the full team. Having the mentors engaged already at this spot means that you can move on to the next step, which is to continue the momentum, feed their enthusiasm, and continue the meetings. Have the meetings week after week. The mentors and you, the sponsor, can help train them on how to run a Toastmasters meeting. Meanwhile, you can also work with them to bring in new members or new prospective members until you reach that magic 20 number. Now, during this process, you are going to, of course, have to collect dues. Then eventually you get 20, you submit your forms, and then at the end, you're going to conclude with recognition of the charter. Just a comment on collecting dues, who does it? They're not a club yet, so they don't have a bank account. So either someone is going to be designated as an officer to treasurer to hold the dues. Perhaps you could potentially hold the dues, or you could leverage another club's bank account, perhaps temporarily, until you have enough to pay Toastmasters for the 20. You complete the documents, you submit them, and then you're going to plan your charter presentation at the end. This is an event. We like to make it a party. It even suggests that we might plan a meal as part of this event, but you definitely want to invite guests, dignitaries. I know at one of our charter parties, we invited the local MP, Pierre Poilievre, to come, and he came to our charter party for that meeting. Publicize it. You could include the public. Now, of course, once again, I would suggest you don't do this yourself by yourself. Include the new members, form a committee, get them involved with doing this process. The charter party will have a short meeting. You'll prepare and present the charter to the club and celebrate this successful milestone. All right, just a few minutes. I see I already have the red, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on corporate clubs because I'm just going to share the link to Pat's wonderful book. It really goes into great detail, and if you are looking at a corporate club, I highly recommend you read it. But one of the key things is with a corporate club, you do need to speak their language. Just like with a member, you need to understand their goals. You need to understand the corporation's goals and strategies and their priorities, because you are selling to them how Toastmasters doesn't just meet their own members' individual goals, but how it meets the corporation's goals. That's the value add you want to be focusing on. So that may involve sending then introductory emails or letters, having an appointment with their training department, talking about things like finances, are they going to pay? Are they going to pay based on criteria of success? Are they going to provide facilities? Those are the type of things that now need to come into those conversations. And then finally, the last thing I want to say is some corporations are very closed door. It may be hard to get a team of Toastmasters in there. In fact, it may just be you, but that doesn't mean you can't do a demonstration meeting. In order to do that, just get the prospective members to be stand-ins for the various roles where you invite them up to the lectern, but you just narrate what they would be talking about, what they would be saying. This way they're a little bit involved, but you're still presenting the information. Okay, I'm done with the information. I want to remind you, it is going to be available on the tnd61.com website. It is also available in this book, How to Build a Toastmasters Club, item 121 in the store. And we will make this presentation available to you, of course, afterwards that you can go through it. So let me open the floor then to questions on being a sponsor for a club.
If you've got
Yes.
no other people that are ready to jump in as mentors and sponsors, can you go to the district to find someone else to help you with your club?
So remember when we were talking about identifying opportunities, In each of those steps, first thing I told you to do, even if they're coming directly to you, or you yourself have the idea, you want to talk to your club growth director. Again, the district's mission is to help build new clubs. They're here to support you. Working with the club growth director, you can put together that team of sponsors and mentors. They will have a list of people potentially who are interested in fulfilling one of those roles. And hopefully amongst that team, you will be able to find the full roster of people you need to be successful putting this club to launch. We're here to support you. If you have further questions, you can certainly reach out to our chairs for the committees, for the club extension committees. You can reach out to your club growth director. You can talk to your area or your division directors as well about the opportunity to either sponsor a club or potential leads you might know in your community or corporations. So if you have questions, they're there to help. And I do recommend you check out the new District 61 club building area, resource area on the website. It is going to be extremely valuable for you in terms of the information you need to build new clubs. So as I promised, I was going to share, let me do that now, a link to Pat's book. It is all about talking to corporations. It is all about how to talk to them in the language they understand, translate our Toastmasters lingo into corporation lingo so that they can appreciate the value that we bring and what new unique opportunities having a Toastmasters club would have for them within their organization. It's extremely eye-opening. I know when I first saw Pat do a presentation on it, it really changed my perspective on my own corporation club that I'm a member of. So I can't recommend it enough.
I do agree with you, Tony. I used it for the CRA clubs across Canada. It made a difference on how management looked at the Toastmasters clubs.
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't see any more questions. I'm going to then turn this back over to Karin.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tony, for sharing all of that wonderful information with us today. So we are, looks like, a couple minutes ahead of schedule, and I don't want to begin the next section ahead of the agenda timing, just in case there's anybody who's arriving just for that. I don't want to start before they might join us. So if any, I'm sorry?
So it's only a couple minutes.
Let's go ahead, Karin. I mean, those who should be here by now. So we can allow more time to Gina if we want to discuss.
Q&A.
All right, then. We will carry on. All right. That then, we'll move into the mentor session. And let me introduce our trainer for that, Gina Cook. Our next speaker is Distinguished Toastmaster and past International Director, Gina Cook. She has been an active Toastmaster member for the past 35 years, where she has taken several opportunities to help create new clubs as a club mentor in both community and corporate environments. Please help me give a warm welcome to Gina.
Thank you so much, Karin. Fellow Toastmasters, I am super excited to be here. And yes, I as well am going to be sharing my screen with you. Remember that you have a toggle that you can switch over to lessen or make the shared screen smaller so you as well can see more of the people. Just wanted to remind everyone of that. So as we go through, and I gotta make you guys a little bigger so I can see you. Alrighty. Being a club mentor. Now, being a club mentor is similar to being a personal mentor of a Toastmaster, except that you are kind of giving it your valuable feedback and your valuable knowledge and expertise to everyone that is in that group, not just one specific person. The great things that I found for doing that is that you get to give a lot of your expertise and your knowledge to the people, and they are so grateful to learn and understand this information. Some of the benefits of being a club mentor is that you're going to be sharing your expertise, you're developing the capacity to translate Toastmasterese to perhaps English so that they understand it better. Because sometimes in Toastmasters, they have some terms that are Toastmaster terms. they are not necessarily understandable to the person coming in that's brand new and knows nothing about Toastmasters. Kind of like some of the acronyms we have of DTM and TLIs and AGMs, and all acronyms are lovely as long as you know what they mean. So just being able to translate and translating the values and strategies that we have into productive actions, proving themselves as valuable leaders, getting them to take on roles and explore their own leadership skills, helping to invest in the future of the Toastmasters organization, the district, and their own club, organizing or obtaining some fresh perspectives of what they are looking at and what they are exploring themselves. Applying some of the leadership skills to these new situations. So you may have some leadership skills that you've already developed, and you're going to be taking a look at putting those leadership skills and extending them to building the skill sets that you already have, building teamwork skill set. The leadership soft skills that you've got going on is going to make a huge difference in taking the skills that you've got in that toolbox and then using them in different situations. And then, of course, at the end of everything, you've got all these wonderful soft skills that you are creating, and you can bring those back into your work environment, your home environment, your other volunteer situations and environments. And lastly, of course, putting the credit towards your Distinguished Toastmasters designation, which is always a good thing. So as we take a look at how to get appointed as a mentor, well, first off, you're going to be working with the new club. You're going to be working with the new group of people, but on the actual club formation form or club building form, there is a section, as mentioned right here, for at least 2 names. Those 2 names could be people that are currently the sponsoring people, but ideally to have 4 different people, 2 as sponsors and 2 others as mentors, is even better for the club, because that way they're getting 4 experienced Toastmasters coming in and helping them build their new club and build the information, sharing their information, their expertise, their confidence with the group. Now, one of the things they talk about is being with the club for at least 6 months. And as Pat has said, you really want to be with that club for a full cycle, a full year. Help them through the club officer training, help them through electing the new officers, helping them through all of the different situations that they're going to find out through the year. And it will make a great deal of difference to the survival and the success of that club by getting them to do that type of thing. We take a look, as we mentioned, at a teamwork approach. Or the sponsor, as Tony had mentioned, they're looking at helping with chartering the new club, creating the leads, generating the interest, recruiting the members, and finally submitting the paperwork. And yes, officially, that's when their job would end. But again, we encourage them to continue to stay on to give their expertise. If the club mentors start early along with those club sponsors, then they get to understand the club even more so. And because they start early, it's not a big shock of them coming in and helping. Rather, they're finding out about the ins and outs and the intricacies of the clubs as they go. Let me give you a quick scenario. We just formed or just chartered the first Muslim club in Canada, here in District 61. It's called the Ottawa Muslim Speakers Toastmasters. I came in as a mentor for that club. It's a community club before it's a community. Now, for me, getting to understand that this is a different group of people that are trying to work around the schedule that they have in the different mosques. Well, you've got a location that you're not used to going into, and which has specific rules. Things like you need to take your shoes off every time you go in. So it's like entering someone's house. You need to be respectful of the situation and of the culture. So you don't wear anything that is short sleeves, short pants, things like that. You're constantly thinking of the group that you're with. If I came in as a mentor after all of that work had been done, I might have a complete culture shock and not able to work as well because it would be taking me time to get to know the culture and the group a lot better. So as Tony had mentioned in his presentation, getting to know them earlier by means coming in earlier as a mentor is a very good benefit. It also, you're able as a mentor to help with ideas in terms of recruiting, in terms of generating the enthusiasm and the interest and talking to people just like you would at a club meeting. So as we go through, there are some fun questions that Toastmasters has asked in this presentation that I thought, this is an opportunity that we can talk about, which I find very interesting. So, as an evaluator, if the evaluator, can an evaluator, excuse me, require a member, demand a member to repeat a speech if they don't meet the project objectives? What do you think? Can an evaluator do that? Raise your hand if you think it's yes. Okay, I'm not seeing any, except for the timer, which has its hand up anyway. Yeah, exactly, Tony. No, they cannot. Exactly. That's not part of the things that they can do. They can suggest, perhaps, that they might want to consider, but that's all they can do. So let's take a look at the next one. If a speaker wants more time, then what is on the objectives? Can the Vice President Education approve that? What do you guys think? Yeah, okay, we got some hands up, some unknown looks. And actually, as a VP Ed, I would normally go, sure, because many of the times we are doing speeches for something else and we're practicing them in Toastmasters. But TI has said, no, we're not really allowing to do that. Now, this is where I disagree, but that's okay. The objectives are to be given within a specific time frame, and we should be staying within that time frame. But let's face it, are we there for Toastmasters? Are we there for the members and help them learn and gain and grow? So that's me. Third question. Can the Vice President Education refuse to approve a member's level or path if the VP Ed believes that they could have done a better job? No.
No.
You are right.
No.
And sadly, I have heard of this in other places, not in our district. And I just cringe to think that no. And as a mentor, we're actually being given the opportunity to educate well ahead of time people, our members, but our Vice President of Education who may have a lot of stress put on them if they do things like taking it into their head that they can do something when they really can't or shouldn't be doing something. Okay, so let's take a look at another one. Member speech goes over time. Can they be included as in the best speaker category for the meeting? You know what? It's up to the club. The club has to decide if that is a rule that they have. TI doesn't actually give any option as to whether or not they should or should not, because not every club votes for best speaker or best evaluator or things like that. And if they do have it, then they need to make the rules themselves ahead of time. That goes along with this one. Can guests vote on best table topic speaker of the night? Our clubs do, but that's because we decided that. And it's really, again, up to the club to decide what they want to do. The idea, of course, with these questions is that every club is going to have their own personality and sometimes their own set of rules as to how they want to do things. And that's okay. Many of us as mentors and sponsors will go in when we're creating that club. We want it based off of the set of rules that our current club or the club that we like best goes by. So we found that that works well. Let's create the club to work with those same rules. You just have to make sure that the club members agree with those rules. Does that make sense? Am I saying that right? Okay, I see some nodding heads. All right, so when we take a look at using the resources, we've got some great resources out there. And there we go. Right now, when I take a look at the TI resources, one of the first places I go to is the district reports page. And I take a look at the Distinguished Club Program results. I probably look at that every day just to see not just how my club is doing, but how clubs in the district, in my division, in the district are doing. There are also downloadable forms and documents that you can use off the TI website, specifically to new clubs. And of course, now that we've got some on our own district webpage, that makes it much easier to find them. There are some administrative tasks that we want to make sure are submitted. Like we're talking any new member applications. When dues are getting renewed, we want to make sure that those are done early, as early as possible, in fact. And I look at Leigh's face and go, yes, as early as possible. As soon as it opens up, get it in there. Because the one thing that stresses out a district director is not seeing the dues coming in. And as well, educational awards. Now, we know that the new system has come up, but it still means that the VP Ed needs to take care of any educational awards that are coming up and get them submitted on time. Don't sit and wait around for them. I think a big thing is just making sure that the members know how to do it. And as a mentor, sometimes you're going to have to start working with the mentors, or excuse me, with the members to figure out or to show them this is the new pathways, this is how you use it. And when you're done, when you've got all check marks on the projects, this is how you complete your path. And then, being able to demonstrate and show them, doing educational talks on the educational system will help all of the members understand what's going on and what it means to them. And then lastly, you have access to all of the past leader letters that have been produced by Toastmasters International, especially over the past few months, to be able to go back and show them what needs to be done on a regular basis. So some of the other official duties is that you are definitely going to be called on as a trainer to be able to do different educational workshops or different information, being able to share it with the members to be able to know that they can do the roles, they can do the jobs. You need to be able to know what to do if, say, a new member doesn't have access to the educational material, to be able to show them how to get there, how to create or get their first path set up, how the pathways works, being able to be an educational ambassador to all of the members in the club, making sure that they are eligible to serve as a new club member, because if they don't pay their dues, they can't be a club officer. They can't really be a club member. Explaining what happens for speech contests. As a brand new club, they have special dispensation when it comes to speech contests. And they need to know that they can participate even though they have not completed the first 2 levels of the path, because they're a newly chartered club and they have special dispensation for it. The other thing is talking about just understanding what they can and can't do and where the tools are that they can use as club officers and as mentors, or excuse me, as members of the club. So there are some things that are definitely club choices. Whether they do a toast, whether they do opening or closing thoughts, what roles they do within the club, if they combine the counter and grammarian together, whether they do an invocation. There is a Canadian pledge of allegiance to the flag, believe it or not. I actually found it. It was given to me by some Toastmasters from Detroit. I know, go figure. But there is one for Canada. Whether or not you do any kind of Toastmaster oath, perhaps it is the reading of the mission at the beginning of the meeting, or acknowledgement of the territory that you are holding the meeting on. These are all things that is up to the club as to what they do and when they do it, or any type of awards that you might do, whether it is best Toastmaster, best speaker, best evaluator. I've seen all and I've seen none, and any decision being up to the members, they can keep it and make it theirs. That means that becomes part of the club culture, and because they have adopted it themselves. And just trying to ensure that every meeting is a quality meeting. I think that the biggest thing as a mentor is being able to walk through the different aspects when something happens that shouldn't happen, to be able to say, point of order, that particular thing shouldn't happen, but let's move forward and keep that in mind for future meetings. Other things that I found is that just keeping a knowledge of what should be done, things like branding, for example, and then helping the club through their own creation of making sure that the agenda works with the Toastmaster branding, rather than perhaps creating their own club brand of or symbol for their club. It's like, no, we're not allowed to do things like that. So understanding some of the Toastmasters bylaws, procedures, policies will make a big difference in helping you as a club mentor. And then helping to maintain membership. This is probably one of the big things that we need to do as an advisor. When I think about, as you go through as a club mentor, by the time you're getting to the end of that 1-year term, you're basically acting as a past president in a sense, that you are helping them in terms of advising the executive committee, advising members, a little bit less because you're getting the executive to advise the members now. You're helping to take a look at perhaps the next year's club executive with the help of the current year. And you're helping to create a culture that is constantly looking for and bringing in new members, so that every time they think that perhaps we should do something different, it's like, well, what are they doing and what can you do that will bring in even more members? Did I just do that? Yes, okay. So if we talk about the benefits of membership, I think many of us know this already. In terms of benefits, you have a better leadership base in which to select the leaders of the group. You have more ideas, more personalities that come in and make it interesting. And it makes it fun. To have more people absolutely makes it fun and more interesting meeting. You could do things like membership contests within the club. You can take a look at online membership resources in terms of building membership. And there's, of course, the Success 101 documents that are being used. There are membership building contests throughout the year. And the district encourages all of the clubs to do this membership building because it helps the clubs. Of course, you've got the annual individual member sponsors, which usually start from the year and go through the full year, but you've got the Smedley Award, which is in the summer months. You've got the Talk Up Toastmasters, which is in the winter months. And then you've got the Beat the Clock, which is at the end of the club year, all of which are very helpful. And you get lovely ribbons for your club banners. And part of that, of course, yes, getting new members, operating more efficiently because you've got more members to pick from. And everyone is usually quite interested and informed. And it helps keep the club going. It helps motivate them, provides some continuity with retention. And you've got a strong base. So the more members that stay in the club, the stronger the club is. And finally, using the DCP, the Distinguished Club Program, to be able to see where you're going and the club success plan to see where you have been or what you're planning on going and how to get there. So we've got lots of different aspects of what we are doing in Toastmasters as a club mentor. What I'd like to do now is to open the floor to any questions that you might have as being a club mentor or a new club. Rebecca.
I know the team's working on an agenda, so to speak, or a path for new mentors. Having been a mentor, what are some of the recommendations as far as, let's just even talk the first month or two of mentorship with the club?
Well, one of the things that I like to do is to try and get to know the members themselves so that you have a better understanding of why they are in Toastmasters, what they are looking for. As I mentioned earlier on, the club mentor is very much like the individual mentor, except that you're working with all of the members of the club instead of just one or two. So the idea for me is you get to know the members, you get to know what it is that they are looking for. And a large majority of almost every club will be looking for improving their communication skills one way or another. So I think that a large majority of your time will be looking at that aspect. But there's also going to be taking a look at all of the different educational material that is available from Toastmasters International and putting together on a regular basis some of the educational workshops for the members and getting them involved in a way that they themselves could actually start presenting some of those workshops instead of just coming from you, because, you know, let's face it, you get tired of listening to your own voice after a while, no matter what. And so getting them to take a look at some of these wonderfully canned workshops, they will learn a lot just from presenting the workshop, and then the other members will learn from hearing those workshops. So that first month, getting to know your members, I think, is the biggest thing. And getting to understand the culture of that group will also help you and help them, because you don't want to go against that culture.
Awesome. Thanks for that.
You're welcome. Hisham, I think your hand was up next.
Hey, thank you, Gina, for the presentation. I just have a quick question. I'm curious to know how the club mentors are evaluated. Is this like you show up for 6 months and you're good, or the club president has to sign up on something, or like how does it function? Like how do you get credit for the club mentorship?
Oh, that's absolutely good question. Part of it, I mentioned in the slide, is that you have to have your name on the actual application for organizing to begin with. Then once the club charters, After 6 months, the club, I believe the club president will get an email from Toastmasters International with a form that they themselves must fill out and complete to say that you were successful in your role as being a mentor. So it's going to be up to the club president to verify that you showed up, that you participated, that you helped them. By means, if your name is on the application and you don't show up or do anything, they will still get an email to say, did this person do their job? Can we give them credit? So it's going to be up to the club to verify that you did your role.
Okay. And mentorship has to be with new clubs, or can be with
For this
club
one,
members?
yes,
Okay.
right. And so it's not being an individual mentor, it is being a club mentor. So you're giving a lot for the information that you're doing.
Thank you.
Eva, your hand was up next.
Yes. So I loved your, the something that you mentioned, that create and foster a culture to bring more members in this club. Could you provide examples how we can create that culture?
I think that right now the culture is going to be individualized. I mean, when we talk about a culture, corporate clubs have their own culture already. There are several specific community clubs that will have their own culture, like the club that I'm working with right now, that's a Muslim group, and their culture is around the prayer times and bringing in the culture of the Muslim Association to be able to have that as part of the meeting. When we talk about a community club, well, the culture is different, because here you've got all kinds of different people coming together with their own ideas, perhaps. And so the culture, you might have to define elsewhere.
Sorry, maybe my question was too big. So more the culture to bring new members. So that to foster that, that, okay, everyone, the next meeting, we bring one guest. But what are all the examples you have your team, your club, but you want to get more members. So, and for me, I think, okay, what else can I do? What examples did you have successfully done to say, okay, yes, we're growing because, I don't know, we established this culture that once a month you bring someone else, or any other ideas?
I think a big thing there, Eva, is to constantly be on the lookout for new members, for potential new members. One of the things Toastmasters talked about years ago is the best publicity and advertising we can do is through word of mouth. And I found that social media is great. We put out information on Facebook, on Meetup, on all over the place. We talk about putting up posters, and people will see that. But unless they are talked to, many times they won't come through the door and sit down. So for me, it's meeting someone on the street. If I have, because we know our Toastmaster pins go from every outfit that you're wearing, they coordinate very nicely. It becomes a talking point. And you can talk about the fact that, oh yeah, I've been doing this, and in my Toastmasters organization, we do this. And so people will ask about it. If you're talking about Toastmasters with almost every person you meet, where you see the interest, invite them along. And that's what you have to constantly be telling the members as well, is letting your friends, your family, everybody you meet, person in the elevator, the people that you talk to on the bus, letting them know about Toastmasters and inviting them to your club meetings. There's a constant membership turnover. And so making sure that you're constantly opening yourself to inviting people to the Toastmasters Club will make a difference. And the thing is that it doesn't mean that if they are not available on your meeting night, then talk about, well, when would you be available? There are many other clubs. And even if it means that you take the opportunity and bring them specifically to another club so that they don't feel that they are alone, it's taking that opportunity.
Thank
Does
you.
that help, Eva?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Leigh? No, can't hear you because you're on mute.
I've been talking all morning, so I just assume when I open my mouth, people listen. But no, that's not the case here. I wanted to reiterate something that you said, the really crucial importance of the district success plan the club success plan and the DCP. We need to start that conversation right from the beginning and ingrain it in this club that they want to have a club success plan. It does not have to be an elaborate 50-page document, but it does have to give them a roadmap for the year, every year. And we need to teach them how important that is for their long-term success. Same with DCP. There are clubs who, continually our president's distinguished is because they try. It's important to them. It's part of their culture. It's part of what makes them feel good. And we need to make sure that new clubs understand that doing this will be part of your future success. We see it when that drops off. We see those clubs drop off. And I personally did not really understand this until the last couple of years. So when we are doing mentoring, sponsoring, chatting in the elevator with new club members, we really have to make sure they understand that this will help them succeed.
Thank you, Leigh. Absolutely. Tony?
So as a Toastmaster, if I'm in my Toastmasters club, I give a speech, I get an evaluation. I perform a role. The general evaluator gives me evaluation. But as a leader, in this case, a sponsor or a mentor, how do we get better at this? I'm not aware, and maybe that's changed, that there is any sort of evaluation form for you as a mentor or a sponsor. How would you suggest we get better at this? Who do we talk to? How do we seek that feedback?
One of the things that can be done is there is the 360 evaluation that you can, even taking from the High Performance Leadership Project, using the information on there to get that same feedback from the members that you're working with. As well, there is something in the back of, I think, the district leadership book that is an evaluation form. I'm not sure if it's still there. It was there for a little while, and I'm not sure if it's disappeared or not. But I would use the 360 and just giving it to your fellow mentors and sponsors and the executive of the new club and probably many of the members that are there. We know that if you do a survey of any group, like 7% feedback is really good, which is sad to say. With Toastmasters, hopefully you get a lot more of that feedback. But that's what I would do, Tony, is be able to use something like the 360 evaluation. Rishanti.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I wanted to address Tony's question from the district perspective, Tony. I wanted to create this new club welcome committee chaired by Karin for the same reason that you alluded to. There's no such formal training program for club mentors, new club mentors, and same with the evaluation side. Through this committee, what we plan to do is to have some kind of a forum where they can discuss their issues and get some ongoing guidance from the district when they are doing their role. And as part of that is that we really want them to be successful. 360 form will be really helpful at the end of their process, but we wanted to be more proactive and be with them as they walk through this journey. And that was the purpose of creating a special committee called New Club Welcome Committee. And this is Karin's first job, and there's more to come, and she will discuss that at a later point. But you are right. It's just that this is a leadership development opportunity. We want our new club members to learn by doing it, but at the same time, we want them to have a forum when they get frustrated and when they feel like they are blocked in their journey. They need to have a place to come and discuss their issues, and that's what we plan to do this year.
Thank you, Rishanti. And I see that Michael has given me the red light to let me know that there was about, at this point, 10 seconds left of the session. So I thank you all for your participation and your attendance, and remind you that there is a survey from our coordinator to be able to say, hey, how did we do? Is it what you wanted? Did you like it? What did you learn? All those wonderful things that we need to find out from you. So I encourage you to make sure that you do the survey so that we can continue to improve. I suspect that the French group has their own timing, but I have enjoyed being here today. And I hope that you have enjoyed it and learned something as well. Become mentors, become sponsors, build those clubs, be awesome, because I know you are.
Thank you so much, Gina, for sharing with us and fielding all those questions. Okay, well, first thing I want to do is I want to thank once again our 4 trainers who assisted with us today. So we have Tony, Renaud, Ronald Servant, Gina Cook, and Frank Schilder. Thank you so much for sharing and taking us through those training sessions. Big round of applause. I do want to hand it to Rishanti for a moment. She has something she wants to share.
Thank you, Karin. And actually, before I speak, I would like to invite our district director, Leigh Street, share a few remarks. And over to you, Leigh.
Thank you, Rishanti. I was saddened by the fact that I couldn't be here to see Pat speak. I love to listen to Pat speak. Even if you have heard this exact speech 3 times before, I'm inspired every single time by her. I love this event because we have some new folks here, and we also have some people that have been doing this for quite some time. We learn something new all the time in Toastmasters, and by talking about these things together, that's what keeps the momentum going. Assuming that we all know exactly what to do all the time isn't true, and assuming that we are all inspired all the time isn't true. But after an event like this, we feel inspired, we feel supported, and this is good for us as individual Toastmasters on our journey and for Toastmasters in general. So I would like to thank Rishanti for taking the time to put this together, to get some really experienced trainers and to have some great discussion. Well done, Rishanti, and thank you all for attending. Back to you, Rishanti.
Thank you, Leigh. And I take this opportunity to thank Leigh as well. I'm enjoying my journey as a trio member because of her leadership mostly. She is a mentor herself and she's a coach. And as a new Toastmaster going to trio, Leigh was one of the reasons why I decided to take this journey, because I had a lot of faith in her and I still do. So thanks, Leigh, again for joining us despite your busy, very busy schedule this morning. Let me start thanking everyone. First of all, we organize events, but if we don't have attendees, all the effort that we put doesn't make any sense. So thanks again for everyone who joined this morning. And this shows that you all are committed to our district mission, which is building clubs. And for example, like we have some experienced Toastmasters like Davendra. He was the club growth director last year. He doesn't need to attend these events. He already knows in and out of club building, but he shows his commitment to this mission. And that's what we all are here for. Thank you so much for experienced and inexperienced and new Toastmasters, whoever you are. Having you here is a joy itself. And then I would like to thank our trainers. When we designed this event, I really wanted our new Toastmasters to learn from the best of the best. So from that perspective, I thought inviting Pat Johnson as the keynote speaker is the best thing we could do, because she's a global expert on this topic and she's a proud Canadian. So why not, right? So she agreed to attend the event, and then we wanted to get the best trainers from our district. So thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your wisdom today. Tony, Ron, Frank, and Gina, we really appreciate your continuous engagement in district activities. And then my team, and I can't thank enough and be proud enough of my chairs this year, especially Fabian. He is someone that anyone can have and can be proud of. And as you know, he's the club extension chair, so I don't need to worry too much. He puts the effort and he knows how to get people around him, and he makes that mission happen. This year, our objective is to create 15 clubs. So we are progressing very well. Thank you, Fabienne. And also your team, especially Annie Reel, she was there to help you as well. And then Karin, and I know Karin for a while through my coaching role in her club. And when we wanted to find someone to create this new committee, new club welcome committee, I kind of had to envision this is what I'm expecting. And Karin was one of the main candidates that I had in mind from the beginning. So thanks, Karin, for coming on board to help us and also offering this session. She's the chief organizer. Of course, she worked with Fabienne. And also I would like to thank Eva, one of her team members, Karin's team members. They are so energized to get this done. And currently, Eva is authoring a report, not a report, I would say a guidance map for our new mentors. It's almost ready and we are happy to share it with all of you through the new club building resource page very shortly. And then how can we do anything without Rebecca in the room? As always, you all know, she was very enthusiastic in helping us. And currently, Rebecca and I, we are building a club, one corporate club. And I know she's very busy, but still she was happy to join you and all and making everything seamlessly possible for us. Thank you, Rebecca. And then Michael, so you are an inspiration. I really like your attitude. Whatever you want, you tell me. That's the attitude Michael has, and he agreed to be our timer today. Thank you very much. And I think I thanked everyone else. I don't think I missed anyone else, but if I did, my apologies. I really like to see your picture, and Francois and Marie-Claire, like you are together. And that's where we all find ourselves working together towards a common mission. I thank you all again, and let's stay inspired. We have already chartered 2 clubs this year. Charter papers for 3 clubs are on the way, and we also have some leads. So Fabian and his team needs a lot of help from everyone to make this happen. Let's work together and share our joy with the world. That's where the club building comes from. Back to you, Karin.
Thank you, Rishanti. All right, I just have a few concluding remarks before I let you have your morning back. The first is that this workshop is primarily planned for the distinguished pool candidates. However, the things that we are learning here are valuable for a broader audience. As was mentioned, we have some folks here today who are not necessarily members of that pool. And that leads me to my next point, which is that my job as the new club welcome committee is to start to try to find matches or find pool candidates and match them with the new clubs that we have recently chartered. And while we hope that we have many new clubs, we won't be able to guarantee that we will necessarily have a club for all of the candidates. We'll do our best, but it's a 2-part equation, right? And so we have to have the clubs for the mentors and vice versa. And so once again, I want to thank everyone for attending and taking the first step, the first steps on the journey where we will create new opportunities, not only for yourselves, but also for the new Toastmasters who will benefit from these new clubs in the years to come.